I thought I had a perfect marriage with my wife Natalie. For 5 years, we built what seemed like a dream life together. Our careers were thriving, our home was beautiful, and I believed we were genuinely happy. But over the past few months, something changed. Her business trips became more frequent. Her excuses grew thinner. The woman I trusted with my heart was slipping away, and I was about to discover why at a hotel downtown that would change everything. Let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button to see how I confronted my cheating wife and handed her divorce papers in the middle of that hotel lobby. I am Foster, a 32-year-old software developer at a prominent tech firm in the city. I met Natalie at an industry conference 7 years ago. She caught my eye immediately with her confident stride and brilliant insights during a panel discussion. Natalie works as a marketing executive at a competing company, which initially made our relationship exciting with playful rivalry about whose company had better perks. After dating for 2 years, we got married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Everyone said we were perfect together, the power couple who understood each other's career ambitions and supported one another unconditionally. For 5 years, I genuinely believed we had something special. We bought a beautiful home in the suburbs, a 2-story house, with a yard where we talked about maybe having children someday. Our financial situation was stable, with both of us earning good incomes that allowed us to live comfortably while saving for the future. Weekends were spent trying new restaurants, hiking local trails, or hosting dinner parties for friends. Natalie and I were the couple others looked up to. The first signs of trouble were so subtle I almost missed them. Natalie started spending more time on her phone, quickly turning it face down whenever I entered the room. Our conversations became shorter, less substantial. She stopped sharing amusing stories about her coworkers or asking about my day. When I would ask about her work, her answers became vague, lacking the specific details she used to enthusiastically share. Then came the communication breakdown. Natalie started having more late nights at the office. Initially, I thought nothing of it. Our industries both had demanding periods, but these late nights became more frequent, happening 3 or 4 times a week. When she came home, she would head straight to the shower before even giving me a hello kiss. I noticed she had changed passwords on our shared accounts. When I mentioned I could not log into our joint entertainment streaming service, she quickly made an excuse about security concerns and reset it, but I never saw the new password. The same happened with our shared cloud photo storage. Natalie's appearance started changing too. She bought new clothes more stylish and expensive than her usual professional wardrobe. She changed her hairstyle, started wearing more makeup, and spent more time at the gym. While self-improvement is positive, the timing and secretiveness around these changes raised questions in my mind. The business trips were the next red flag. Throughout our marriage, Natalie occasionally traveled for work, maybe once every few months. Suddenly, she had a business trip nearly every month, sometimes twice. The explanations were always just detailed enough to sound legitimate, but vague enough to leave me wondering. I started doubting myself. Was I being paranoid? Had I somehow neglected our relationship, causing her to pull away? I attempted to reconnect by planning special date nights, cooking her favorite meals, and suggesting a vacation to the beach resort where we had honeymooned. Each attempt was met with a weak smile and an excuse. Too tired, too busy with an upcoming presentation, unable to take time off work. Despite my efforts, Natalie remained emotionally distant. The woman who once couldn't wait to tell me about her day now seemed to avoid conversations entirely. Our home felt empty even when we were both in it. My suspicions grew stronger when I received an accidental call from Natalie's coworker, Lindsay. She had been trying to reach Natalie about a client presentation, but mentioned being surprised that Natalie was not at the conference in Chicago she had told everyone about. That night, Natalie had called me from what she claimed was a Chicago hotel room. The revelation left me with a sinking feeling in my stomach. I found myself at a crossroads. Should I confront her with only circumstantial evidence? Should I investigate further and potentially discover something I was not prepared to handle? The foundation of trust in our marriage was cracking, and I had to decide whether to repair it or prepare for its collapse. I decided to pay closer attention to patterns in Natalie's behavior, looking for concrete evidence rather than just feelings and suspicions. The opportunity came when Natalie asked me to find a receipt in her home office for a work reimbursement. While searching through her desk drawer, I found hidden credit card statements she had apparently removed from our mail before I could see them. The statements showed charges at the Westfield Hotel downtown on dates that aligned perfectly with her supposed business trips. My heart raced as I discreetly photographed the statements and returned them exactly as I had found them. This was the first tangible evidence that something was seriously wrong. I told myself there could be an explanation. Perhaps her company had started putting employees up at hotels for late-night work sessions. Perhaps there was a legitimate reason she had hidden this from me. A few days later, while Natalie was showering, I noticed her iPad lighting up with notifications. We had always had an open device policy in our marriage. I picked it up and discovered several text messages from someone saved simply as J, with messages like, "Can't wait to see you again," and "Last night was amazing," followed by heart emojis. The timestamps corresponded with her previous business trip. Another disturbing pattern emerged when I realized Natalie had started leaving her wedding ring at home during these trips. One morning, as she rushed to catch her flight, I noticed the platinum band sitting in her jewelry dish. When she returned 2 days later, she slipped it on before coming through the front door. I only noticed because I happened to be looking out the window when her taxi arrived. I finally gathered the courage to confront her about the inconsistencies in her stories. "I thought your Chicago conference was at the Marriott, but the charge on our credit card is for the Westfield," I mentioned casually over dinner. Natalie's expression flickered briefly before she composed herself. "The conference was at the Marriott, but they had a booking issue, so some of us were moved to the Westfield," she explained smoothly. I did not think it was important enough to mention. Her answer came too quickly, too rehearsed. When I asked about the other discrepancies, she became defensive, accusing me of spying on her and not trusting her. She turned the conversation around so skillfully that I found myself apologizing for bringing it up. This gaslighting only strengthened my suspicions. I needed perspective, so I reached out to my best friend Anthony for advice. We met at a sports bar where the noise would ensure privacy. After listening to everything, he sighed heavily. "Foster, this does not sound good, but you need to be absolutely sure before you make any accusations. Have you considered hiring someone to find out for certain?" The idea of hiring a private investigator felt like something from a movie, not my real life. But Anthony's suggestion made practical sense. If I was wrong, no one would ever need to know I had taken this step. If I was right, I would have the evidence needed for whatever came next. The private investigator, a retired police detective named Michael, took my case with a matter-of-fact attitude that somehow made the situation feel less personal. Within a week, he had confirmation that shattered any remaining hope. Natalie was indeed meeting the same man repeatedly. Michael provided photos of them entering and leaving the Westfield Hotel together, holding hands in the parking garage, kissing in the elevator. Seeing the photographs was a physical blow. My stomach lurched and I felt lightheaded as I stared at the undeniable evidence of betrayal. The man was tall with dark hair, wearing expensive suits. In one photo, his arm was wrapped possessively around Natalie's waist in a way that suggested intimate familiarity. "His name is Jason Turner," Michael informed me. "He's a client at her company. Been working with them for about 8 months according to my research." 8 months. The timeline aligned perfectly with when Natalie's behavior began to change. I wondered how many of our relationship problems during that time had been manufactured to justify her emotional withdrawal. Further investigation revealed that every single one of Natalie's recent business trips coincided with stays at the Westfield Hotel. I accessed our shared cloud account, where our phone location history was automatically saved. The data confirmed regular visits to the same hotel, often during lunch breaks or after work before coming home late. The final piece of evidence came when I was removing some dry cleaning from Natalie's car and found a Westfield Hotel receipt that had fallen between the seats. The receipt showed room service charges for 2 people, including a bottle of champagne. That same evening, Natalie announced another business trip scheduled for the upcoming weekend. "It is last minute, but very important for this new client," she explained, not meeting my eyes. "I will be back Sunday afternoon." In that moment, I made my decision. I would not confront her at home, where she could control the narrative. I would not allow her the comfort of privacy for her excuses and lies. If she wanted to conduct our marriage in a hotel, then that's where it would end. I consulted with a lawyer, secretly explaining the situation and my evidence. He advised me on my options and helped prepare preliminary divorce papers. The weight of the folder containing those papers felt impossibly heavy in my hands, but also strangely liberating. For the first time in months, I was taking control back. The day of confrontation arrived with beautiful, cruel irony. The morning sun streamed through our bedroom window as Natalie packed her overnight bag. I watched her carefully select lingerie that I had never seen before, tucking it beneath business attire that would never be worn. My chest felt tight, but I maintained my composure, playing the role of unsuspecting husband one last time. "I will miss you," she said, kissing me goodbye at the door. "The conference schedule is packed, so I might not be able to call much." "Have a safe trip," I replied, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "I hope your meetings go well." After she left, I waited 30 minutes before following in my own car. The drive to the Westfield Hotel downtown took 20 minutes in mid-morning traffic. I found parking in the public garage connected to the hotel, positioning myself where I could see the main entrance. At 11:30, Natalie's car pulled into the valet area. She stepped out wearing her business suit, overnight bag in hand, looking every bit the professional on a legitimate work trip. I remained in my car watching as she confidently walked into the lobby. 15 minutes later, another car arrived. A man I recognized from the photos, as Jason emerged, checking his watch before adjusting his tie and entering the hotel. My suspicions were confirmed, but seeing it happen in real time still felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I gave them another 30 minutes before entering the hotel myself. The lobby was elegant with marble floors and crystal chandeliers, a place designed for luxury and discretion. I took a seat in a plush armchair with visibility of both the elevators and the entrance, the manila envelope containing divorce papers resting heavily in my jacket pocket. My heart was pounding so hard I was certain others could hear it. My palms were sweaty and I felt waves of nausea washing over me. The confirmation of my worst fears brought no satisfaction, only pain and a strange sense of clarity. 5 years of marriage, countless shared memories, all tarnished by deception. As I sat there, I thought about our wedding day, how beautiful Natalie had looked walking down the aisle, how certain I had been that we would grow old together. Now I was sitting in a hotel lobby waiting to confront her about an affair. 2 excruciating hours passed, as I sat there occasionally pretending to read a newspaper or check my phone. Hotel guests came and went. A business conference concluded in a nearby meeting room, participants filtering out with their name tags and complimentary tote bags, all while my life was suspended in this terrible moment of waiting. Finally, at around 2 o'clock, the elevator doors opened. Natalie and Jason emerged, his hand resting comfortably on the small of her back. They were laughing about something, looking relaxed and intimate in a way that only comes from shared secrets. Her hair was slightly disheveled, her lipstick faded. They were heading toward the hotel restaurant, completely unaware of my presence. I stood up slowly, my legs feeling unexpectedly steady beneath me. As I approached them, Natalie spotted me first. The color drained from her face, her eyes widening in shock and immediate recognition of what my presence meant. Jason noticed her expression change and followed her gaze to me, confusion crossing his features before understanding dawned. "Foster," Natalie gasped, her voice barely audible. "What are you doing here? I think you know exactly why I am here, Natalie." I said, my voice calmer than I had expected it to be. Jason took a small step back. "I should probably go," he muttered, already looking for an escape route. "Actually, you might want to stay," I said to him. "This concerns you too." I turned back to Natalie, whose shock was morphing into panic. 8 months. Natalie. 8 months of lies about business trips and late nights at the office. "Foster, please, this is not what it looks like," she stammered, the cliché falling flat in the face of such obvious evidence. "I have photos." I continued, referencing the private investigator's evidence. "I have hotel receipts. I have your location history showing every visit to this hotel. I even have the text messages between you two." Her denial crumbled instantly. "I never meant for this to happen," she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "It just started as business meetings, and then..." and then you chose day after day for 8 months to lie to my face. I finished for her. You chose to build a separate life, while pretending ours was still intact. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Look, man, I did not know how serious it was between you two. She told me things were basically over, that you were separating. I laughed without humor. Is that what she told you? Because she never mentioned anything about separation to me. In fact, last month she was discussing our future plans for starting a family. Jason's expression changed, turning to look at Natalie with new suspicion. I almost felt sorry for him, another victim of her deceptions, though his willingness to participate without verifying her claims eliminated most of my sympathy. Natalie was fully crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Foster, please, can we go somewhere private to talk about this? I can explain everything. I made a terrible mistake. But we can work through this. Without a word, I reached into my jacket and pulled out the manila envelope containing the divorce papers. I do not think there is anything to work through, Natalie. Her eyes fixed on the envelope. What is that, divorce papers? My lawyer helped prepare them yesterday. She recoiled, as if I had physically struck her. Divorce, Foster. No. One mistake should not end our marriage. One mistake. I repeated incredulously. This was not one mistake. This was hundreds of choices to lie, to betray, to disrespect our marriage and me. Every text, every meeting, every night spent in this hotel was a separate choice you made. By now, several hotel staff and guests had noticed our confrontation. They were trying to appear disinterested while obviously listening to every word. Natalie noticed too, and became more desperate to move our conversation. Please, not here, she begged, reaching for my arm. Let's go home and talk about this. I stepped back from her touch. There's nothing left to talk about. I trusted you completely, and you shattered that trust beyond repair. I placed the envelope in her hands. I will be staying with Anthony until you can move your things out. I would appreciate if you could do that within the week. Jason, sensing the finality of my words, mumbled something about giving us space, and quickly walked away, abandoning Natalie in her moment of crisis. She called after him once, but he pretended not to hear, disappearing through the hotel's revolving door without looking back. I turned to leave as well, my part in this scene complete. Natalie called my name, pleading, promises spilling from her lips about ending the affair, about counseling, about changing. But some broken things cannot be fixed, and trust, once shattered so completely, was one of them. The drive home was a blur. I made it as far as my driveway before the emotional dam broke. Sitting alone in my car, I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of what had happened. I cried until I had no tears left, mourning not just the end of my marriage but the death of the future I had believed in. That first night alone in our house was surreal. The space felt both too empty and too full of memories. I slept in the guest room, unable to face our bed, knowing what I now knew. Sleep came in short, restless bursts between periods of replaying events and conversations in my mind, looking for signs I had missed. Natalie returned the next day while I was at work, leaving a note saying she would come for her things over the weekend. True to her word, she arrived with her sister and 2 friends that Saturday. I made sure to be elsewhere, arranging with Anthony to let them in. The process of dividing our possessions, our shared life, was too raw to navigate face to face. The weeks that followed were a study in emotional endurance. Simple tasks became monumental efforts. Getting out of bed, showering, eating regular meals, going to work. Each accomplishment felt like climbing a mountain only to see another peak looming ahead. I lost 15 pounds in the first month, my appetite destroyed by stress and grief. Anthony was my lifeline during those darkest days. He checked on me daily, sometimes just sitting in silence when words failed. He brought food when I would not cook for myself, dragged me out for brief walks when I had spent too many days indoors, and listened without judgment when I needed to vent my anger and pain. Recognizing I needed more support than friends alone could provide, I started seeing a therapist specializing in betrayal trauma. Dr. Winters helped me understand that my feelings were normal responses to extraordinary pain. Through our sessions, I began untangling the complex web of emotions: betrayal, humiliation, grief, anger, and even guilt, wondering if I could have prevented this somehow. The divorce proceedings revealed further betrayal. Natalie contested our prenuptial agreement, claiming she had signed under duress. She sought half of my company's stock options, which had appreciated significantly during our marriage. Her lawyer argued that her marketing expertise had indirectly contributed to my career advancement, entitling her to a larger settlement than our agreement stipulated. 6 months of legal battles drained both my finances and emotional reserves. Discovery revealed Natalie had been moving money from our joint account to a private one for over a year, preparing her own financial cushion while maintaining our facade of transparency. This discovery, while painful, ultimately strengthened my case. During this challenging period, I joined a support group for people dealing with infidelity. The shared experiences helped me feel less alone in my pain. It was in this group that I met Tara, a kindergarten teacher whose husband had left her for his assistant after 12 years of marriage. Though our stories were different, the emotional impact was similar. We often stayed after meetings to talk, finding comfort in conversations with someone who truly understood. Slowly, I began rediscovering myself as an individual rather than half of a couple. I reconnected with old hobbies I had neglected: playing guitar, hiking, cooking, elaborate meals. I threw myself into work projects that had previously taken second place to my marriage, earning recognition that eventually led to a promotion. 9 months after discovering Natalie's affair, I moved out of our house, which was finally sold as part of the settlement. My new apartment was smaller but felt more like mine, a space unmarked by betrayal. I chose every piece of furniture, hung art that spoke to me, created a home that reflected who I was becoming rather than who I had been. Dating again was terrifying. My first attempt was a disaster, a coffee meeting, where I spent most of the time mentally comparing the woman to Natalie and worrying about potential red flags. The second and third attempts were marginally better, but I realized I was not yet ready for a new relationship. I needed to heal myself first. A full year after that confrontation at the Westfield Hotel, the divorce was finally settled. Natalie received less than she had demanded, but more than the prenup had specified, a compromise that allowed us both to move forward. The day the final papers were signed brought a strange mixture of grief and relief. A chapter of my life was officially closed. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Natalie. Unlike her previous communications through lawyers, this was handwritten and deeply personal. She apologized without excuses or expectations, acknowledging the pain she had caused and taking full responsibility for her choices. She wrote that therapy had helped her recognize the selfishness of her actions, and that while she did not expect forgiveness, she wanted me to know she regretted the way she had ended what had once been a loving marriage. The letter sat on my counter for days before I could bring myself to respond. When I finally did, my message was brief but honest. I appreciated her apology and wished her well, but some wounds leave permanent scars. Forgiveness was a process I was working on for my own healing, not for her absolution. My friendship with Tara gradually deepened as we both progressed in our healing journeys. What started as post-meeting conversations evolved into hiking excursions, movie nights, and eventually a tentative first date. We moved slowly, both carrying emotional baggage that required care and attention. But there was something comforting about building a connection with someone who understood the value of honesty and had also learned the hard way that love always involves risk. Looking back now, 18 months after that day at the Westfield, I recognize that while the experience nearly broke me, it also forced me to grow in ways I might otherwise never have. I learned painful but valuable lessons: that blind trust is as dangerous as chronic suspicion, that self-respect must be non-negotiable in any relationship, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away. The man I am today is more cautious, but also more authentic. I set clearer boundaries. I communicate more directly. I pay attention to actions rather than just words. And perhaps most importantly, I have learned that my worth is not determined by someone else's ability to remain faithful. So if you are watching this and going through something similar, know that the pain does not last forever. The path forward exists even when you cannot yet see it. trust your instincts, maintain your dignity, and remember that you deserve someone who chooses you completely, not partially or conditionally. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice between staying in a relationship or walking away with your dignity intact? What helped you through your toughest moments? Like and subscribe if this story resonated with you, and share with anyone who might need to hear that there is life after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the end of one chapter is exactly what you need to write a better one.